Question is going to start with you, Mayor Gilmore. Another thing that I hear repeatedly from my members on a regular basis, as far as emails or calls, or we've discussed it on the radio, is there's a great concern now, I think, at least with, like I said, our members and somewhat across the country, with the growth of what they feel is what they call the administrative state. And that's unelected bureaucracies that aren't elected by the people that are having more and more say in things across America. For instance, Vero Beach has been, as everybody's aware, been dealing with the FMPA for a number of years, has been unable to get out of that. We're still being held to the utility rates that we have for a deal that we have with them. Everybody saw what happened with the FDFC with Allboard Florida. They had already, we found out later, that the money had already been put into the budget before the vote was even taken. There's other issues which I know you all may have disagreed with, but as far as 750 and things in Indian River County, where the people have opted out of that as far as in the county commission and as far as the city council. One of the issues where you all differed from our county commission was, and you were one of the leaders of it, Mayor Gilmore, was the making sure that Sebastian joined the Indian River Lagoon Coalition. I'd like to, obviously I know where you all stood on that. I know Jim Hill asked that there be a sunset provision in that, and that's one of the things that our members have had one of the main concerns with, is sometimes these things can just end up being unending, and you can end up being not held hostage, but just being in a position where it makes it hard sometimes to get out of something without a sunset. But I know that was defeated, his provision that it sunsetted. Not on the Indian River Lagoon Coalition per se, because I know where you all stand on that, but just how do you all feel in general about the city council needing to either work with these administrative state unelected bureaucracies more, or do you feel it's not an issue at all? I just would like, from an ideological standpoint, to hear your position on that.
Sure. We've got a problem with the elected bureaucracy. Okay, let's talk about it. We bring every year our what we'd like, our wish list, to our representative. How many of those 5 items did we get done last year? How about 0? 0 help from the legislature. So we have an elected bureaucracy that's not getting anything done in Tallahassee, and we've got an elected bureaucracy in Washington that's getting nothing done too, and that's why you're seeing what's happening now. What happened with the Indian River Lagoon, briefly, is that it was embedded in St. John's Water Management District, and the idea was to get it out of bed with St. John's and get it into a situation where you've got elected folks running that organization instead of folks that are not elected. And that's exactly what happened. We've got 3 counties. 4 counties. We got Volusia, Brevard, Indian River opted out, but St. Lucie and Martin County, and now the Indian River Lagoon Coalition is on a seat on that board. So there's 5 elected officials that's going to be 5 plus 3 bureaucrats that are going to be running that organization, taking care of about $2.2 million worth of stuff that's going to fund projects for the lagoon instead of the $500,000 we used to have.
Again, this is a question that I could probably go on for days about. In relation to the Indian River Lagoon, the county chose not to. I respect their opinion. I would hope they respect mine when I wanted it. Because to me, I can just tell you, it seemed to make sense. When I was in the Army, they had the GI Bill. You put $1 in, they match you $2, and at the end, the Department of Defense match it paid for my college, my college career. It was semi-successful. And I was looking at that, and I was the one that said, when Mayor Gilmore brought it up, I said, you know what, let's just take that seat, we'll put the 50 grand in. But it was better to work in collaboration with the other municipalities who were interested in doing it, because it seemed to me, we put 50 grand in, we were getting better than the GI Bill. We were getting the equivalent of $8 back. To me, that makes the most sense in the world. But some of the unelected, we have the elected bureaucracies that was mentioned, the unelected bureaucracies. It's so important to build and maintain relationships with other people, be they elected or not elected, and out there constantly working them You know, I come across to a lot of the county commissioners behind the scenes for things I feel important with children's issues. You know, Representative Mayfield's issues, always there, Representative Harrow, and everybody. As well as anybody, it's so important, again, like I said, to build those relationships. It's like I'm involved in early learning down in Indian River County. Common Core, you know what? Yes, but you have to do what the state tells you in order to get their dollars. But what we're doing with the nonprofits down in Indian River County through the Kindergarten Collaborative, through the Literacy Alliance, is enhancing that education. And that is being done with no money. That's being done with philanthropic funds to make, because early learning is so important. It is vital to our future. It's so important for kids, because every dollar that you put in for that, that leads to basically you're putting $1,000 in your bank account down the road.
Yeah, there's some fundamental differences, I think, in definition of what is bureaucratic representation and non-bureaucratic representation. And yeah, Sebastian has had its differences with some of your issues over time, and that's a good thing. That's okay. And this is just happens to be another one of those. I agree with these gentlemen here. We needed to be represented, and I was disappointed that we had to do it this way. But understand that 3 major municipalities, Sebastian being the largest municipality, followed by Vero, and thank you, Fellsmere, for being such a good neighbor and caring, even though you don't live next to the lagoon, you care enough about it to join with us. We felt, all 3 of the municipalities, I think it was unanimous all the way through. There you have 15 elected officials thought it was important enough to do this. 15 elected officials thought it was important enough and are going to continue to do it, be that as it may. That is truly our feeling, and we're at the table. We're in the discussion to use the millions of dollars that are going to be put forth. So I'm very happy that we chose to do it. I'm very happy that we have the partners in it, and I would hope that everyone in Indian River County would one day all be in this together. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, we're going to start with you. This is another semi-ideological question, but obviously one of the issues that's been a long time coming up here has also been the septic tank sewer line issue. You all have had an $100,000 initiative out there, it seems like, for a couple of years. I had one quote here from an article I believe Samantha wrote here that Mayor Gilmore, you said, "We've offered a carrot and no one bit. Now in light of the blighted lagoon, maybe there should be a stick." And you were talking about there was a $500 a day fine that had been on the books for a while. You weren't necessarily saying that you wanted to implement, you were at least talking, if nobody's going to take you up on the money that was being put out there, how that should work. And so what we're looking at is from more of an ideological standpoint. Where do you all feel the balance is? Obviously you all feel the health of the lagoon is vitally important, where you live here, you all live up here in Sebastian, which is right on the lagoon. But there's also some private property owners that might want to say, we just feel fine to stay on our septic system. How do you feel the balance, and again we'll start with Bob and then it'll get back to you, how do you feel that that balance is out? How do you try to make that delicate balance between telling the people what they need to do for the good of others and yet infringing on private property rights or fining them or so forth?
This, another great question that you have. And Sebastian has taken the lead. We've had started getting biters on the sewer grant program. We've allocated $100,000 every year so people could hook up. And the person who couldn't make it today, he was one of the applicants for one of those grants, and he received that so he could get off of the septic system. Now, a key is educating people towards, and typically you don't know, your septic is failing before you have to call the guy to suck everything out. It's failing long before there. So now where you're looking at the city taking a role, making people get off sewer, that is a balance, and that's for future discussions. But I would say if there's somebody who's living on the river and you're seeing kind of like a, you know, an oily thing coming out from their home, then I think there's other areas who already cover that kind of thing. The Department of Environmental Protection need to be notified and maybe doing that. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with, you know, picking up trash. You know, there's people throughout the county, they want to take their trash to the thing. Now, I couldn't imagine, you know, if they want to do that, God bless them, and they don't want to be on waste management for whatever reason, but they could lower the rates for everybody if they were on it. But they want to take their own stuff, and I also understand property rights if people don't want to switch over to septic, because some people make good idea because you have to, but their systems are not failing, and I'm not going to go in there and tell them, you need to do this as far as a property owner. But like I said, if it's actively, you see, that's like a lot of the homes you'll see, because as a Department of Children and Families, we'll get calls on a dirty home and you see the septic leaking out. Call the Department of Health and the Department of Environmental Protection already there to facilitate a lot of those.
Well, you've hit all the hot topics. Good question.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Really?
We try.
Yeah. Septic issues. One, I want to reiterate, we have been using that 100,000, and so much so that this is the third 100,000, or the second?
Third, I think.
Third. We're running out of money. We have put another 100,000 in next year's budget to do this again. And it's to allow people who can't afford to hook up. Believe it or not, most people do want to hook up to the septic. It's just unaffordable. We had a big project over on by the American Legion and VFW. We gave them $50,000 to put extra piping in through there. We don't have what Vero has. We don't have a good base. It's there, and we have to work with the county, but we have very, very few lines. We're starting from virtually scratch here in Sebastian, but we want to encourage everyone. So we have to be able to help them. We can't expect people to hook up and say, oh, by the way, it's going to cost you $25,000, or 15, or 7. Most people don't have that kind. I don't have that kind of money. So we need to help them, and it is the right thing to do. I think we need to look at some rules about fail. If your septic is failing and it's available, we need to say, if we haven't already said, we need to say, you got to hook up. No more new, we're not going to let you replace. But we also have to help people replace it with some funding. In the long run, it'll be cheaper, it'll be better for our lagoon. It's all about the lagoon.
Yeah, I think I was looking at some of our ordinances, and when we gave the sewer franchise over to the county, our attorney said, well, that basically doesn't allow us to find somebody if they're not hooking up. But at least the discussion spurred some interest, and we had a lot of people, a flurry of people wanting some of that $100,000. We had quite a few people hook up after I talked about it, and I still think that here on the lagoon, right here in this district, in the waterfront district, if you're on a septic tank and that septic tank's 20 or 30 or 40 years old, whether it's failing or not, it's failing the lagoon, because Brian LaPointe came from Harbor Branch and was invited to our city council to do a workshop. And through his many years of research, the older the septic tank, the larger the plume. The plume of that, if you're across the street, your plume probably goes right into the lagoon. So we've got a sewer right here. We need to get folks hooked up, and whatever we can do, however we can benefit them and pay a little bit to get them hooked up, I think that's what we need to do for the lagoon.
All right, Andrea, this question, we're going to start with you. One of the only other votes that we saw that there was some split on during the past year was there was a situation with the Planning and Zoning Commission and Chairman Ed Dodd over a situation that took place back in November at the Planning and Zoning meeting.
Yeah.
And it's something that we faced up in Vero also. Not just the autonomy of the individual boards and how they have, but basically what your ideological, philosophically, how you lean, do they serve more at the behest of the county? In other words, in Vero, we have a lot of the council appoints the members of the different boards, and every time there's an election turnover, there's a big turnover in sometimes the makeups of the boards and sometimes the people representing the councils. And there was a split on this vote on whether or not Chairman Ned Dodd should either apologize if he didn't, whether he should be removed, and it was a very close split vote. And I was just wondering if you could give us your opinion on how you voted on that, and we'll be able to hear from the other two also.
There'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. Here we go. Yes, be happy to. I definitely have an opinion on this. It was an unfortunate thing. And don't get me wrong, I think Ed Dodd has done a great job on planning and zoning. Truly believe he's done a great job. He made a very bad choice of words on camera. And for those of you who might not know what it was, he decided to call a prominent developer and who was connected with a prominent local realtor an asshole.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say that.
My name is Andrea. I tell the story.
The candidates can say it if they want.
And it went out over the air. And yeah, I'm telling you the honest story. It went over the air.
That's what we want.
And that's not appropriate. All we asked for, all I expected, was an apology. The developer wanted an apology. The realtor wanted an apology. That's all they asked for. And we asked Mr. Dodd at a council meeting to give an apology. He chose not to. I had no choice but to say then, you know, we have a fundamental problem here. If you can't be man enough to apologize for inappropriate words, you can think that all you want. I don't care. You just don't say it and put it out over the airwaves representing the city of Sebastian. So I stand by my point of view. I lost. There were only two of us who thought and they're not sitting here.
No, but it was you and Mr. Hill, correct?
Yeah, Jim Hill and I thought he should be removed for not apologizing. And to this day, he did an indirect apology that is not satisfactory. He did not apologize to Doc Fisher or to John King, the realtor. Have fun.
Yeah, well, I took it upon myself to call Mr. Dodd and ask and suggest that it would be good for him to apologize to Dr. Fisher. And we had a long discussion, and he was adamant that he didn't want to apologize. And I said, well, you know, I really feel like you should send him a note. I don't know that you'd have to do it publicly. He did do a public apology at the next meeting, and I reviewed that, and it is on tape that he apologized to everyone who was either in the council or at the chamber or watching on TV, which basically covers everyone. It's not the apology that I would have liked to seen happen, but he did apologize to everyone, and he did it on camera. Now, this happened, and it occurred at a time when he thought that he was not on camera, and he didn't know that he was live, that the microphone was hot. But it's still unfortunate that it happened, and I would have liked to have seen, you know, a more formal, maybe not more formal, I said, but really what you owe it to is Doc Fisher. Send him a note saying, hey, I apologize, I apologize for my word choice. But anyway, ultimately, I think Mr. Dodd's service to the city for one event didn't warrant us brooming him. So that's why I voted the way I did.
That meeting was a 3-hour meeting. I watched it 3 different times. Because everywhere you go in life, there's 3 stories. There's my story, your story, and what really happened. You know, it was a contentious meeting. One of the things is I discussed with the city manager, you know, after it happened, after my viewing of the tape, how The meeting was supposedly got out of hand. One of the things that happened, and we instituted after the fact, which I had been advocating for before, is at the end of every one of the council agendas, there's a 2-page document that talks about how meetings are run. You know, no applause, no derogatory statements, everything along those lines. On the people that volunteer for our boards did not have those last 2 pages of the documents, did not have about how long public input was or anything along those lines. Mr. Dodd has been on the P&Z committee for years. That guy knows every ordinance going which way, backward, and everything, and does a tremendous job. Doc Fisher has been a pillar of the community and done a lot of important things. But I also viewed the tape, and Mr. Dodd did say, you know, blank hole. You know, he did, it was on the camera. But also at the same time, there was a thing where Doc Fisher was approaching the dais, just like that's a court of law or a judge, and basically said, maybe you want low-income housing in there instead. So, you know, you could look at that as a judge, you know, because that's what Chairman John's position is. Is that a little lack of respect on that part? Yes. Saying the word, complete lack of respect, but you look at, you know, the 2 issues that happened, and I supported Chairman Dodd because of the fantastic work he does on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And also educating the people on our boards as to how meetings are run and what to do in situations where something like that arises. It's hard enough as a public official. If you look at it as a volunteer who's giving your time, typically nobody goes to the P&Z meetings. There was 300 people at the meeting, and they were all against the project, and I think he did the best that he could running the meeting through the duration.
Could we do 30 seconds again each on that? None of us answered your question.
That's okay. I mean, if you'd like to do 30 seconds, yes, we have time for that, sure.
Because the question was, you know, fundamentally, how do you feel about the boards?
Yes.
And none of us answered.
No,
so, real quick, 30 seconds each. Most of our boards and the ones that meet very regularly are not appointed. They volunteer, as they said. So I firmly believe that they represent Sebastian. They work at our pleasure, but we need to be more involved, I think, with our boards. We got to get a little closer to them and let them know that we support them. We say that a lot, but I think there's more we can do to show them.
Yeah, I think that the boards that we enjoy at the city, I would like to see more interaction in them, the chairman and what have you, coming and giving a report to the city council. That's really their function, is to advise and consent for the city council. We have Natural Resources Board. We have a new board that is a student advisory board, which we did have the vice chair come and give us a great report and have bring some things up to the city council. And I said, hey, this is great. We need to have more of that happening.
Yes, we need to support our boards more, maybe recognize them more. I mean, recognition is respect made visible. And with the Youth Advisory Council we have, they're treated like the regular ones, following the sunshine laws and everything along those lines. And I work with the city attorney, tell them they got to tweak that a little bit. Because the kids, when they leave a meeting, they should be able to freely talk to each other. It's not like they're trying to do a backroom deal and make some money off of something. Teenagers, you want their input, and you should let them express themselves more. But we are very fortunate in the city of Sebastian. We have so many quality people that are giving of their time and their talent, helping out the city, and it's truly appreciated.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Mayor Gilmore, this question's for you. We've just got 2 more questions. This one relates to another big dollar item that's recently come up as far as the size of your budget, is the Sebastian Golf Course. And the price to repair the irrigation system is going to be just shy, it looks like, of $1 million from the bids that came out. Also, from an ideological standpoint, I know Indian River County has Sand Ridge and it's been successful, but at the taxpayers we try to look at whether the private sector can handle something better or the public sector. I know it comes out of the enterprise fund, it doesn't come out of the general fund. However, it is relying also on money from the discretionary sales tax fund, which, as you know, is going to be coming up for vote in 2016. could be there, may not be there. I mean, you can't be sure of that. And the building fund. The $1 million didn't seem like, or maybe it does to some of you, a huge amount in the whole scheme of things, but is there a line where, I mean, the golf course is fairly old, has needed maintenance at different times, and there's been an ebb and flow to the income coming in. There was a huge rise with, they called it the Tiger Woods effect in the 1980s and early 1990s, and then we had a downturn with the Tiger Woods effect in 2000 and the budget going down. So, I mean, how do you all balance that between trying to be in, say, the business section of doing things and providing services, and yet still looking out for the taxpayer dollars that are going to be used for projects like this?
That's a great question, John. You know, it's an amenity just like any other, just like our airport is an amenity to the city, and Vero's airport is an amenity to that city. I can personally attest that the irrigation system that we have currently on the municipal golf course is just a patchwork of pipes that have been patched hundreds of times, and it's just such that we really can't maintain the quality of the golf course. Some of the pipes are so shallow that we can't aerate the fairways, and so that's the need of the golf course for irrigation. You can't fix your greens, you can't fix your tees unless you can irrigate them, and if you can't irrigate them, you can't keep a nice golf course going. It's been an amenity that's paid for itself. You know, I look at it as an investment, and I don't think that we could. First of all, I don't see how you could privatize that. We privatize it to a certain extent in that we have a private company that mows our grass, that takes care of our greens, that does a lot of the. We only have about 4 employees, so there's really only about 4 employees that the city employs for the golf course. Everything else is privatized, and Sand Ridge is a whole lot better off now that they have their irrigation done. And the same company, I think, is going to be we're using the same company and the same system to irrigate our golf course.
I try and keep things simple. $1 million is a lot of money. That's not in my zip code. But when you're looking at the golf course, they were spending 40 grand a year to keep this existing system together with spit and string, which makes no sense. So what they do, they finance the thing, they got the $1 million, and they got some out of the building fund. And the golf course is going to pay back the building fund at a higher interest than we were earning on T-bills. So actually, the thing is not only going to pay for itself, it's going to add money in the coffers, you know, of the city, because it's going to pay back at a higher interest rate. I think that's the way we need to look at a lot of the projects, you know, throughout the city. I mean, you know, the seawall project is another one that we're going to look at in the same, you know, goal with the golf course here. Should the city be responsible? That's where you go. Private versus city property. Should we? That's where you're looking at. If it's a private property owner, you know, offering them a low interest loan or a no interest loan. Because again, if we take care of that situation, it makes, you know, the whole city better, and, you know, together.
Okay, Andrea, the non-golfer, does not disagree with either of those statements. I think Mayor Gilmore's underlining the fact that it's an amenity for our city. It's a very, very popular amenity for this city. And let's take a look at reality. Sebastian's property values were raised the highest of anywhere in Indian River County. 9.5%. Our property values increased last year 9.5%. No one else in our area touched that. We are the highest. There's a reason, and many reasons for that. Perhaps some of the reasons are our amenities, the beautiful waterfront we have, the golf course, the fact that we have very strict height limits. And when you walk down Indian River Drive, you can see our lagoon. And you can actually go and touch it and feel it in many places. Can't do that in a lot of other places. We hold to that. That's what makes Sebastian special, and we all know that. So our golf course is very important to our residents. It's an amenity, and we need to hang on to it.
This will be the last question. We'll start with you, Bob, and then we'll have the last 1-minute summaries. And this sort of ties in a little bit to what I hope are the 1-minute summaries, because one of the things we also hear from our members, and it also is resonated throughout the polls here on a national level, is people, and I know the 3 incumbents are here, so this is a little easier for them without a challenger, but a lot of times people feel that incumbents, at least during this election cycle, this is what they're hearing, are telling the people what they want to hear as opposed to what maybe their core principles are. That's why we stressed today that we wanted to hear what you honestly believe. And I do think you all have been very honest in giving us your answers, so I do appreciate that. I respect the fact that the city of Sebastian, which is our largest city in the county, and also the fact that the city council is very diverse. I believe there's 2 Democrats, 1 independent, and 2 Republicans on it. And you all have all been able to work together.
That's incorrect.
Yes. Oh, it is? I'm sorry. Okay, if I was wrong on that, I apologize. So, but I wasn't trying to, I was just saying that you all work together, even if it's not a unanimous split there. I was just wondering if there was any core principle issue that you felt that you would like in the next 2 years as an incumbent to try to move forward that might not have unanimous agreement at the onset. In other words, it'd be very easy for everybody to say they want the water to be clean here in Sebastian. I don't think you're going to get any disagreement from anybody up here that's going to say, I'm against clean water. I'm just saying, if there was any core principle that you believed in that you felt you might need to persuade your fellow councilmen on, and it's something that you believe in, and even if it ended up being just a 4-to-1 vote against or a 3-to-2 vote against, that at least you brought it forward and it was something that you believed in your heart.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
I'm just, trying to think off the top of my head, because, one of the things is I'm involved throughout the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee on a lot of initiatives, to solve problems. I'm involved with, Poverty Forum out of St. Lucie County. I'm involved in a gang initiative problem down in Fort Pierce. Because one of the things is they got me involved in there as my role with the Department of Children and Families. But I also brought in the sheriff and, our police chief. Because a lot of the shootings that have happened in Indian River County are a result of the gang problem which was happening in Fort Pierce, and making sure we're trying to do those. But you're talking about something core value. I mean, that's something that I'm growing. Another thing that's very important, and Andrea was valuable in getting the college into Sebastian. When I talked to, Casey Lumsford from the college, and the college offers so many resources. I would love to see them expand in Sebastian. There are 700 students that attend college in Sebastian. And most of the classes they can attend to get an AA degree out of there right now, but some of them have to travel down to Vero. And I would like to see them expand the classes that are in Sebastian. That may not be positive, because I know there was some problems. Oh, they just gave the college the building. Well, the college is paying back with what they're doing, the education for not only our youth, but even people, older people who are returning to school. So I think that's one important initiative, as well as some of the other things. I've been working with the Substance Abuse Council, looking for positive things for youth to do. And one of the programs they have was the Friday Night Done Right. And I'm down in Vero, and they're talking about going to Vero High School and being in downtown Vero. And I'm like, look, I'm at this meeting. This is my meeting too. Let's come up to the North County. Let's do it in Sebastian. We are the largest municipality, and that's what we're looking to do. And they come up and they have the grill, they have everything. All you need to do is find people to pay for the food. Andrea's already, she's getting people to pay for the food and the grill. But these are important quality of life issues that can be done that are costing, guess what? Zero money. But some people don't like to get involved with it. I don't understand why, because it just makes our community stronger, better, and self-sustaining.
Another great question. Cheryl. There we go. What's really cool about our council, and over the past few years, our council has been very, very, we're like kids who play nice together. We do have our arguments, but when we leave, we can leave it right there and go on and move on. and continue to do good work. We all have our little niches, and that's been, I know where my fortes are, and everyone sitting up here has their specialties. Bob, dealing with kids, families, sheriff departments, gangs. We know who to go to. I know who to ask at the council meeting the questions about those things. And he gets involved and brings us in, and he's the expert, and we defer to him. My areas of expertise are in fundraising and nonprofit organizations, and I am the go-to senior citizen. The senior center and all of that. And college, I have to admit, I'm all for Bob's expansion. I would love the college to build a building up here. I'm just so happy that they're here because it was a fight to get them here. They said it, Dr. Sullivan told me over and over and over and over and over again, no, we thought about it, we tried it, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. It works with Ralph Popple getting involved and bringing folks up, it works. So what's really, really cool is that we understand what our fortes are and how to work together and how to play nice. We need to keep it that way. We don't need to bring in people who just want to stir up and agitate.
And I was not advocating.
No.
Just making that clear.
I didn't mean to intimate that you're advocating. You do need to recheck your roles.
Okay,
This is
it is a nonpartisan.
It's a nonpartisan
I was actually saying it
race.
as a compliment, is the fact that you all had stated that you had voted regularly together, and if I was mistaken on that, I apologize. I apologized immediately, so if that was incorrect, I stand corrected on that.
Yeah, thank you, John. I think one initiative I'd like to see the City of Sebastian get involved in it is at least envisioning where we might put the city boundaries as far as annexation goes. One of the things that we don't have is we don't have industrial commercial lands anymore. The areas that was envisioned for that to be is now a nature preserve. And so the area north of the City Hall, which was initially going to be our commercial and our industrial area, is now gone. We have very few, a very small percentage of land designated commercial industrial. So I would like us to look at areas outside of our boundaries and actively pursue landowners that are outside the urban service boundary and say, well, look, you know, if you want to come in, we'd love to have you, because we'd love for you to be Sebastian instead of Bellsmere. Sorry, Susan. Okay. I mean, you guys have really, annexed city over there. But yeah, I'd like for us to at least envision and have a conversation of where we stand on annexation. I don't think we want to annex the world. We don't want to have huge, residential communities annexing it. Vero Lakes Estates is safe. I don't think we want to annex Vero Lake Estates. So thank you very much.
That water. You can have that water right now.
But we would want some of the land on 512 and maybe on US 1. Because really, when you come down 512 and you turn right, you're out of the city. You pass that car wash, you're out of the city. It's county. And we want to get some of that back in the city.
You would just pass it on to Bob. We're going to go with the 1 minute wrap-ups, and Andrea got to go first. So Bob, you can go first at the end here.
All right, we'll make it short and sweet. There's only a handful of Sebastian residents here. I seek your vote in the upcoming election. I really enjoyed serving the community. I think I've done a very good job. For you that don't live in Sebastian, if you can go and tell all your friends in Sebastian to vote for myself, and I would also recommend my two colleagues who were sitting up here, because I really believe that the collaboration we have, the city has run well. Again, I think the city is in the best financial shape of any municipality around, and I think it shows in the work that we have done, the projects we have undertaken. And that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you had a tremendous lunch. Hope you stay in Sebastian, spend a couple of more bucks. If you don't, safe ride home.
Thank you.
Is it me or?
It's Andrew now. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's you now, Bruce.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
Okay. Andrew gets you go last.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you live in Sebastian, I would request your vote coming up in November. And if you don't, that's no excuse. You can still move. Okay? But I just echo what Bob said. I think that we're doing a good job on council. I enjoy being able to work with the folks in the city and our city manager and our new community development director and our new engineer, Frank Watanabe. I think we've got a great crew put together, and they do an amazing job every time we have an event in the park, or every time we have the clam bake or what have you going on. The city does a tremendous job of cleaning up and setting up, and everybody that I talk to that lives in Sebastian said, man, I don't want to go anywhere else. They've looked from Miami to wherever, and they said, oh, this is the place, you know. So we kind of want to keep it a nice little secret. This is a great place to live and work and golf.
Last night at the budget meeting, our budget review committee put this slide out, and Bob memorized all the stuff on here. Thank you. You're good at that. I'm too old to memorize it. But these are some of the highlights of what's making us really, really special. And I'm gonna reinforce that. The city is in excellent financial condition. Excellent financial condition. We have a very, very low debt load. We have low sick vacation accrual. That means our people, we don't have this big pot of money that we owe people. We have low unfunded pension liability, very low tax rate compared to the rest of the state. We're not raising our taxes, our millage rate is staying the same. We have an excellent bond rating. We consistently stay within our budget. We have an excellent award-winning budget process year after year after year. We have over $5 million in general fund reserve that we're not going to touch because we know we might need it in the case of emergencies. We had 9.5% increase in tax appraisal values, the highest in Indian River County. We're doing something right. You decide. And last year, your association decided to give its Miser Award
Fiscal Conservative of the Year, we're calling it now. But yes, but yeah.
I like the Miser.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
The Conservative Miser.
We had a debate about that, so yes.
The Conservative Miser Award went to Joe Griffin in the city of Sebastian.
Yes, it did.
And he didn't do that alone.
No.
We were there. We were there. And we need to stay there. Because most folks up here are very, very happy. There are still 6 old grasses out there somewhere, and you stick around long enough, you'll run into them. But you need to keep us where we're at, because we're doing a good job.
All right, with that, I'd like to say on behalf of myself, our board members, the members that are here today, our guests, the press, the elected officials, I just want to thank you, Andrea, Richard, and Bob, for showing up today. I think we got a lot of questions out. I think it was a very fair, I hope you all feel it was a fair, civil discussion of the issues. We tried to have it be that way like we always do. And I've always said that it's much easier to be me just standing up here asking the questions than it is you sitting there having to answer them all. Right. And that's exactly, that's why I'm up here and you all are there. So I just wanted to thank you all very much for participating and having another great turnout. We were almost full here again today, and we look forward to being up here next year. And I do reference Sebastian all the time on my radio show, so I do think the city, we were very happy to give Joe Griffin the award last year. And I just want to mention for our members, the next meeting is October 14th back at the Vero Beach Country Club for the Vero Beach City Council candidate forum. So if you could just mark your calendars with that. And with that, I would like to adjourn our meeting. And again, thank you all very much.